And welcome back to Inside the Ropes. My guest today has been with us before. He was with us over the Christmas period, and we had if you are an ITR VIP subscriber, you can hear us have a complete geek out at Coliseum video releases. We'll try not to do it too much today. He is a New York Times best-selling author. He's been part of the WWE Encyclopedia books that have been released, along with other cool projects with WWE. But he's got a new one coming this September with the 30 Years of WrestleMania book. It is a friend of the show, Brian Shields. Brian, welcome back.
Kenny, how are you? Thank you so much for having me on. It's always great to talk to you, and especially when we're on this side of the microphone, so to speak. I really appreciate it. It's great to be back.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's before we kind of have a chat just generally about wrestling and stuff, tell us about the new book, 30 Years of WrestleMania. I guess the clue is in the title, but how did it come about? What's the thought process behind it, and what can people expect inside the book when they get it?
Well, 30 years of WrestleMania, and this maybe has become my favorite part of doing interviews for the book because I get to quote my favorite Gorilla Monsoon not once but twice. 30 years of WrestleMania is coming out on September 15th. It will be a happening, and history will be made. This is another beautiful book that has been put together by the team at DK Publishing with WWE. It's over 220 pages, and this is the history of WrestleMania like you've never seen it before. There are behind-the-scenes quotes, interviews, anecdotes, never before seen photos. There are special tribute sections to The Undertaker's undefeated streak, Shawn Michaels' career at WrestleMania, the Hall of Fame, fan access. So this is really the behind the scenes story of WrestleMania. And the other great thing about it is that, you're getting all the match results. You'll be reading about all the great matches, and you'll be hearing about what went on from superstars, divas, legends, Hall of Famers, the McMahon family, people from the production, behind the scenes, backstage. It's just an incredible project, and actually now it is also available for pre-order, and that's really, because I've been getting this question a lot also, that's really the best way to guarantee your copy of 30 Years of WrestleMania is if you pre-order it.
And I guess it's funny with 30 Years of WrestleMania, but like what was your first? I mean, you can tell whenever we speak to you, you can tell that you're a wrestling fan.
Oh
First
yeah,
and foremost.
I hope that comes out, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, because there's sometimes you hear interviews with people who are doing wrestling projects, and you can kind of read between the lines that they're not wrestling fans, but you can tell that you are. But what's your first memory of WrestleMania from when you were a kid?
Well, my first memory of WrestleMania was the first one, which kind of now is a little bit humbling as far as my age. I was 5 years old at the time of the first WrestleMania, and it's just one of those things where, growing up in the New York City area during the 1980s, we had cable television, so we saw WWE on the USA Network, on the Fox 5 and Channel 9 channels here in New York. We saw at first it was Georgia Championship Wrestling on WTBS, and then that was followed by Jim Crockett Promotions. And then on ESPN, we had the Von Erich World Class Championship Wrestling and Vern Gagne's AWA, and some other programs as well. So for me, when I think back to my first memories of WrestleMania, it is hearing about the first WrestleMania, and really the entire New York City area was just electric. I mean, between the monthly shows that would happen at Madison Square Garden in general, a lot of people know, I'm sure many members of your audience know, that that's really WWE's home away from home, New York City. And, and then all of the incredible celebrity and the rivalry between Hulk Hogan and Roddy Piper and Mr. T and Liberace and the Rockettes and Billy Martin. And, that was really my first memories, is that first WrestleMania on that Sunday afternoon. And back then also, Kenny, you had that partnership with WWE and MTV. And that was just all kinds of special at that time. So those are my first memories of WrestleMania.
And because obviously for you doing this book, one of the people you interviewed for the book was Hulk Hogan. And how is that in terms of, when you're a kid and you watch WrestleMania and you watch like Hulk Hogan and that sort of stuff, all these years later that you're now interviewing people like Hulk Hogan for a book to chronicle 30 years about the event. It's kind of like, I know WWE call Canada Bizarro Land, but it seems like you kind of lived in Bizarro Land by having to do that stuff. It seems like a kind of dream come true almost.
Well, that really encapsulates for me, Kenny, my career and the opportunities that I've been able to have thanks to WWE and with these recent string of books thanks to DK Publishing. When you're a writer and you're working with WWE and DK, when you need something, you get it. And I cannot express enough how important that is, whether it's having access to research, having access to people to interview, anything that you need. I went to the WWE warehouse several times. The WWE archivist does an incredible job. And so for me, it's all part of this great team that I'm thankfully able to be a part of and work with in general. Now, to bring it back specifically to Hulk Hogan, I grew up a huge fan, as you know, and I got to work with him years ago in the video game business. And, he's a great person to speak with. He's a great guy to work with. And, it's definitely a dream come true when you're talking to somebody and that other person is arguably the greatest icon in the history of the business, if not the, is in a very, very select elite group. So, you're talking about the early WrestleManias. Hulk Hogan was a major part of the first 9 WrestleManias, main eventing the first 8. So, when you talk about it in that way, it really puts a certain kind of stamp on the subject as a whole. And other members of WWE's locker room over the years have also gone on to say that that Hulk Hogan was really the main force in building the foundation of WrestleMania, along with Vince McMahon in those early days. So it was a huge honor for me, and it was just phenomenal. And I think back to even my early interviews for this project started a little over a year ago, speaking with people like Mr. Basil DeVito, who was I believe the first official marketing professional that WWE hired shortly after the first WrestleMania. He's been an integral part of WrestleMania's foundation and growth, and is still a big part of the company today. Going to Linda McMahon's offices in downtown Stamford. She could not have been any more gracious with her time. We spoke for almost 2 hours on the history of WrestleMania and really getting an idea of how much of a risk getting this concept of WrestleMania off the ground was really something. I mean, to speak to her about that personally was something that I'll always remember. And actually, very funny also was I met her and Mr. McMahon before WrestleMania 25. There was a little meet and greet session, and the first WWE encyclopedia came out a couple of weeks before that. And I couldn't believe it. I mean, she actually remembered meeting me, and that's now, I mean, at the time that was like close to 5 years ago. So, I mean, it's just, there are so many of these examples of, being able to have just incredible access to anything that I needed as a writer, and that was just amazing. I mean, and that's even backstage access at Raw, SmackDown, and live events last year and the early part of this year as well.
And when you're sort of doing these interviews for the book, was there any sort of, because obviously you're someone who, even though you're doing these interviews, I assume that you have a lot of knowledge already about WrestleManias and about most of the stuff that's out there for people to read. But was there any sort of fact or thing that you learned through one of the interviews that really shocked you that you didn't know?
Well, one of the things that and just to repeat it, one of the things that I did enjoy really learning about was just how much of a financial risk it was for Mr. and Mrs. McMahon and the WWE to put on this event called WrestleMania. Another one was, speaking to the great Pat Patterson, having a lot of great conversations with him. And one of the things was that incredible WrestleMania 12 Iron Man match between him and Shawn Michaels. That was something that he always wanted to do, and Mr. McMahon was not really big on that being the main event of a WrestleMania or WrestleMania main event pay-per-view, just because there was a little bit of a concern at the time of, is 60 minutes too long for the audience? I mean, there really are so many things where, you have a certain amount of knowledge as a fan and someone that's been fortunate enough to work in different, projects and parts of the sports entertainment business, but I'm not behind the scenes, so this was a great opportunity to be able to get that information and be able to write it and share it with all of the fans, because there's going to be great behind-the-scenes stories, and I don't want to let too much out of the bag, but we even have some pretty impressive celebrities that were quoted for this project as well. So, there were a lot of things that I learned while interviewing so many people.
And I guess as well, when you're, in terms of WrestleMania moments, because obviously the book's going to cover all the different moments, is there a moment for you that if you were able to pick one WrestleMania moment that's not given too much time, or maybe, I guess maybe underrated or something like that, what WrestleMania moment do you think is not kind of given as much attention as it really deserves?
I'm terrible at when I have to pick just one of anything.
Or you can, a handful. If that's...
But I think for most underrated, when I look back, I think John Cena winning the U.S. title at WrestleMania 20 at Madison Square Garden was something that at the time people were excited about. I mean, you could hear the people at the Garden chanting for him the whole time. But I don't think at the time people realized how important that U.S. championship was for him, or how important it would be in terms of really solidifying him as a top-level WWE superstar. And I think that that's definitely one of the WrestleMania moments where, you know, people may not have realized that at the time, but looking back, you can definitely see it because that next year, you know, he's part of that big, you know, double WrestleMania main event, and he's, you know, he's winning the WWE Championship. So that's a, you know, a huge deal for sure.
And you mentioned earlier on, because I can't let you not talk about this. So you mentioned that you got to go into the WWE warehouse.
Oh yeah, man.
So yeah, take us through that. So you walk in, tell us some of the things you've seen, and yeah, what that was like. Because I guess it's almost like being given the golden ticket for the chocolate factory.
I mean, that's really how I felt, and I really felt like, okay, I have to, I just have to stay, you know, professional here almost in a way, because, you know, the WWE and their archivist does such amazing work in preserving the history of the business, and not only WWE, um, but all of professional wrestling and sports entertainment. I mean, you have artifacts from literally all over the world, wrestling territories going back to, you know, the early 1900s. Um, you have photos, magazines, programs. I mean, I mean, it's almost like I don't even know where to begin. Um, but it was, I have to tell you also, as a writer, it was very inspiring to um, be able to go there and to be able to see the work that's being done. And, you know, I mean, it was just amazing. You wanted to just it was like you just wanted to keep writing. It was like there just wasn't, there wasn't enough time in the day, you know, to be able to see everything. I mean, they really have just an incredible collection of history, and it is one of those things, Kenny, where when you're walking through it, you know, you do hope that one day they do build an actual Hall of Fame. I mean, it's that impressive.